welcome to my first official YouTube video where I show you a process of pieces that I've created. So today what I'm going to show you is a commission piece that I did for my godchild. And these are really special pieces. They honor her father-in-law who's passed. And so I'm super excited to create them, and I'm super excited to do it on camera where you can see the process. So for the first time ever, I'm going to try to do a voiceover over my video. We're gonna pray that it works out. Be patient with me. I'll show you some of the supplies that I use as well, and hopefully I'll be able to add those into the description and do all the YouTube things that are supposed to be right. But this is the first version, so give me grace, and hopefully it'll be fabulous for you, and at least you'll enjoy the creation process. So here goes. Okay, y'all, so I started with circular pieces, and these are the supplies that we're gonna be using. I'll have the list down below, and as you watch this, you can always pause throughout and really focus in on what supplies we're using and what I'm doing. But I initially start by putting paper pieces. I know a lot of you have seen my pieces with music notes. These are hymnal pages. And I cut them and just use a basic mixture of water and glue to glue down everything. So I just dilute my glue because I like the way it sticks better. It's not too thick, and it helps me to spread out everything and allows things to stay in place too. When you're thinking about mixed media or collaging in general, just know that you don't have to have it all perfect, and you don't have to get it just right. You can kind of layer and lay down things. I've clearly come up with my own process that I use, and I'm comfortable with it. So it seems like I do it without thinking, and that's just because I've mastered that technique and the style that I use. So just know that when you're creating, it may take a little more time for you to come up with your style and your method and something that you get used to doing. So here I'm working on a large piece and 4 smalls. She's going to give them to all of the family to honor her father-in-law. And so I really wanted to be mindful of what we're using. A few times through this video, I'll show you some of the mediums. What I'm putting on right now is called clear gesso. What I find is when I am priming my paper, if I use a clear gesso, when I'm using my inks, they don't bleed into the paper. They actually sit on top of the paper. So if you've ever used Yupo paper with inks, you know that it kind of glides on the Yupo paper. So I'm basically creating my own Yupo paper. I'm just putting a gesso that seals the paper, and then that way my inks can sit on top. And I use that process in most of my paintings when I'm doing a variety of mediums. It's not a necessary step, but you'll see that if you use ink on top of regular paper, it quickly absorbs, and this allows the paper to buffer a little and not absorb straight into the paper. I also use a heat gun to dry my steps between, because I'm impatient and don't like to wait. So if you see me using a heat gun and you're like, why? I wonder. No, it's just because I'm not patient. So sometimes I have to use the heat gun, dry things, and then bend the paper back down to hold its shape. If not, it kind of wants to curl on you. So right now I'm letting it air dry. I've probably drifted away because I was trying to get my heat gun. I just cleaned my studio and put things away in neat places, which makes them harder for me to get to. So throughout this video, you'll see me taking some pauses, and that's probably because I'm now dirtying up the clean space that I created. So here I'm just drying them off. You can see they curl up. No big deal. You can flatten them back out. That'll work its way out very easily. When you're using a heat gun, don't put it too close because you will burn the paper. So you're just kind of like blowing around on everything so you don't directly focus on one area. Also, something I want to tell you about is paintbrushes in general. There are no rights or wrongs. Just use what you're comfortable with, especially in mixed media. You don't have to use any fancy brushes. You don't have to have any specific things. I have hundreds of brushes, and I usually tend to use the same 4 brushes over and over for my glue and for everything else. So don't feel like you have to use anything ultra nice. Here in the picture now, You can see the flowers that I've pressed from the funeral. So I pressed them about 2 weeks ago, had them sitting in books, and then I laid them out, and obviously I'm doing something different here. So I laid the flowers out to kind of see if those were going to be the right colors. And now I'm using my inks. I come in and squirt them around. Again, they're sitting on top of the paper, so they stay pretty fluid for me to work with them. If I had not put that clear gesso, they would absorb right away and kind of quickly dry. What I'm doing now is going in with a white and often a cream acrylic. And I'm working on the piece that's off camera, but it'll zoom back in a second. I just use a basic Liquitex paint, and I'll blend those colors out. And I like to come around the edges of the ink to kind of soften the edges as I work. I'll be in frame in just a minute. Clearly, these are editing things that I should work on, but it lets you kind of see the colors that I'm using too. And just to also let you know how fun it is to work on multiple pieces at one time. Sometimes I think if you work on one piece, you tend to overdo and overwork. That this allows you to kind of not be so focused on one thing. And if you have a little mess up here and there, it allows you to bump over to the next and not stay so in your head or focused. But you'll see here that I'm going in and kind of working that paint around on all of these. So I'm gonna let you watch this process for a minute, and I'll come back to you in just a bit. So I sped up that last part so you could kind of see it as it moved on. And now I'm going to show you a part about me laying down some of the flowers that I've already pressed. So I initially laid these all out so I could kind of see the composition that I wanted. I like to do things in threes. I think odd numbers always create variety. That's just like a rule of thumb. So I went in and laid all of these out. Just so you know, that probably maybe wasn't the best way to do it. I probably should have just put the glue on first and then laid the flowers out. But I wanted to make sure that they were going to be in the right places. And you'll see that as we go, it made more sense. It would have made more sense for me to do it the other way. So I'm going to let us see this a little bit, and then we'll move into some other work. Here you can see why I said earlier that I should have initially just laid the glue down. It's kind of sticking to my fingers. I'm trying to pick up each individual piece, so lessons were learned. You should first just put the glue down and then lay the flowers out. I could have maybe laid it out on the side just to see how it was going to look and not worried about having it perfectly placed where it was initially going to be. Sometimes hindsight, right, in the work that we do, but it also is like the way we learn each new little step. So whatever, teaches me a little bit of how to be more delicate as well. Like I'm having to be really soft and delicate. When you're putting on glue, if you put any kind of flowers or plants into your work, you really do have to be very mindful, very careful with them. So I decided on here that I wanted to come in with a little bit more vibrant blue color. So I did use some acrylic paint, just a basic acrylic blue. I'll put it down in the notes of what color it was. And I tend to kind of lay color. Do you see I'm working on all 4 pieces at one time? I cannot say enough about how therapeutic this is, how peaceful it is to work this way. I think if you're looking for a way to really get into painting and not be stressed and not whatever, working on multiple pieces at a time allows you to just enjoy the process and not get so focused in on what each piece looks like. So that's just my spiel about why you should work on multiple pieces at a time. I'm going here working on the big piece that you can't see because it's off camera, but I promise you'll get to see the final result. As I put the color in, I always use my creams and my white to go in and buffer and blend. I always also wet my brush, water it down a little bit. It allows me to get kind of that smoky blend feel. And I didn't mention that the paper I'm using is a mixed media paper. It's Canson mixed media, or actually it's a Canson watercolor paper. And it just is a thick paper, so it holds a lot of layers. You don't have to be afraid of your paper peeling up or whatever and getting kind of yucky. So just water things down, move them around, feel comfortable with really putting more layers on and working back into your pieces. So here's a little personal touch that I'm adding to the piece. It's our state of Louisiana, and that was special to the father-in-law, so we're adding this in. I made this little template. I basically just printed out the Louisiana shape on my computer on regular printer paper, went in with an X-Acto and cut it out so that it gave me this little paper template. And now what I'm about to do is a really cool technique, and I came upon this on my own. I'm not sure, but it works. So in my water bottle, I have alcohol. So I spritz the paper with alcohol first, and then I go back with my pan pastels. So you'll see me do it again. I'll show you on the next one. Lay the template down, give the paper a little spritz of alcohol see, you can kind of see it off screen. Then I go back in with a basic makeup brush into a pan pastel and smush it into there. What happens is the alcohol holds it. It's almost like a glue for the pastel. If you've ever used pan pastel, you know that it can get kind of messy and blur out. So if you give it a little spritz and you dab down, it really keeps and holds the form. And it really just is wonderful. It holds it tight, and I often go back and spritz it again with alcohol after, and that sets it. So that's just a little technique that I use. I'm not sure where I got that from, but it works, so I use it. This is me replacing these flower petals because probably I worked too quickly on this piece without letting it dry first, or I could have hit it with the heat gun to let it dry a little too. Anyway, I think that the technique of making your own stencils is really fun. It's a great way to get just like any imagery and put it into your piece. And I love the way that when you put a pastel down, it leaves like this cool technique. You could also do this with an ink pad. So I could have used an ink pad and just like sponged over, and I would have gotten a similar effect. But I like the way pastel sits on paper. It just is a really cool image and really cool technique. And oh, look, finally, you get to see the big one. So I'm doing that same technique on this larger scale one too. And you can see I used some different flower petals in this one. Sticking with a similar design, when you're working in a small collection like this, everything doesn't have to be exactly the same, but they all have the same feel, the same vibe. And you can add sometimes extra little things and other colors, but you see, for the most part, anything that I do to one, I do to the others, and that is what allows it to have the same flow, to feel like it's a similar collection. Heat drying again, so I'm gonna let you see me work for a little bit. So guys, when I get to this stage of my work, I usually go in and do some of my own personal marks in my work. And I think it's a really good time to tell you that it's important for you to learn what your marks are. What are unique lines and shapes that you like to doodle with, that you like to play with? And now's a good time to incorporate those kinds of things into your work. So I usually do these little squiggle lines. I'm layering with different pencils, colored pencils, some other graphite stick pencils too, and I just kind of go back and layer different colors. So I really like the way that leaves unique marks that say something about me. The next thing I'm going to do here is use these foil quilling pens, which is like a heated pen, and there's foil paper that goes with it. That's what I use to sign my work. I also use it to create little lines into my work that represent my unique mark in each piece. You've probably seen it in my work. It's a combination of 3 crosses that overlap. It represents my 3 kids. It represents the Trinity. It represents just where 3s show up in my life. So I like that mark, and I like that it is special and unique to me. So you'll see it in a lot of my pieces as well. This foil quilling pen is a really cool tool. It allows you to use to write in and draw and make little marks. Like I said, I use it for a lot of my signatures. I just like the way it works on paper as well. So you can see me going in and making my little marks here. I go through so many of these sheets of foil, and I try to use them to where there's like not one little line left. But anyway, I end up using tons of them. So you can see me going in. These are also really fun because you can put a little bit of glue down on the paper, a really thin layer. And if you stick the foil paper to it and pull up, you can then create like a little gold leafing into your pieces without actually using gold leaf, just by using this foil. So it's very versatile medium as well, and it has a cool look that it leaves behind. So you could try it too. Put a little glue down and pull back. And so now I'm just kind of shaping out my pieces, looking at them now and thinking, what else do I maybe want to add? Do I feel finished? I always step back, and usually this is about the time where I'm like, no, more is more. Why be finished now? And so sure enough, in these pieces, I've decided to go back in with pan pastels. And you'll see me work on that in just a minute. So I'm going to use the same technique of spritzing with the alcohol on top of a stencil this time that I purchased, and use my makeup brush and go back in with the pan pastels. I think the pan pastel I was using right here was breaking up, and I didn't really like the color. So I'm going to test it out. Didn't really work. Didn't love the way it was going on. So I decided to switch it out, go back to the same pan pastel that I used Louisiana with. And things like this are just trial and error. You'll do something and be like, meh, don't really love that. The great thing is you can paint right back over it. Do you see how I went back in? I'm putting some cream and white paint, just covering it up. Don't feel like anything is ever a mistake. Just think of it more as a layer, right? It's just another layer, especially when you're doing mixed media collage work. The more layers, the better. So it just gives more depth. So never think like, oh no, I messed up. That's a mistake. It's just another layer, and you can put some paint on it, dry it, go back into it. And sometimes when it's damp, it holds the pan pastel as well. So I am, again, digging around my studio right now, making sure that that's dry. And I'm going to lay that template back down and use a darker pan pastel. And when I was looking at this template that I'm about to use, it really made me think of like butterflies or things flying away. And I just thought that it speaks to the energy of this piece, almost like the spirit just floating away. And I love the way it feels in this piece. So when I was choosing, that's what was on my mind at that time. So you'll wait in a minute, and I'll be putting that template back down. Okay guys, here comes the very best part, the framing. I love nothing more than putting my pieces in these frames, closing them up, sealing the clasps. It makes it all feel like it's come together. It's what I've been waiting for. It just is a very big ta-da moment. So I would encourage you to frame some of your work. It really does help you like get a vision of the whole thing from start to finish. So hope you've enjoyed this start to finish video.
We did it.
First video complete. I have edited for a long time, probably longer than one should spend video editing. And if that's how long it's gonna take me every time, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm sure I'll get really good at it once we get going. Anyway, I hope that you loved it. I hope that you learned some things along the way. Let me know in the comments like what I can do better, what you want more of, what you want less of. Is the voiceover right? I know there's so many things that can be worked on, and the music in the background could probably be worked on too, but we'll get better. We'll get better. It's our first time, right? It's amazing. Thanks for being here. If you love what I'm doing, I think you're supposed to follow me and subscribe and comment and do any of and all of the things below. Share it with your friends, and I hope this is going to be great for everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you learned some things. So I'll see you in the next one. Go be great.